It's in the car. I'll throw him back.
Everyone comfortable? You can get comfortable? You can stand like that a couple times? Alright, so first, just take a moment, if you haven't already, with everything we've done this morning. I know sometimes it can seem with the speaking up and the slowing down, the stopping for pictures and some of this other stuff, the logistics of not having pockets and having to carry your water and your phone on uneven terrain, that sometimes you can get lost with not being able to look at what's around you and just take into consideration the gratitude that you may feel for living in a place as beautiful as this, for being healthy enough to be able to engage in these type of activities, and to have others that are going through the same experience you are, to benefit themselves, to benefit others, to have people that are in the same organization, right, wearing a little bit different shirt, the same uniform, that are trying to provide an experience that we can all get in that same degree of serenity and gratitude. So I'm going to give a little bit of silence. I want you to think. You can be in the moment and here. You can close your eyes and you can breathe deep, whatever helps you connect. Again, think about whatever makes you feel grateful in this moment. Share what they thought about, what came to mind.
I would say like my family, because like we moved from Jersey over here, did the ATR stuff, and then we went from Isabela to here, and they were always there with the Lanza, the household. That move. So they're moving, and my daughter is always like the first one. This is my room. This is it. This is that. Like, so for them to be so receptive with the job and the moving and the classes, that to me is like wonderful. And people are coming up here, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna bring them up here, and they're gonna enjoy this the same way I'm enjoying this with the classroom. So that's what I thought about the family.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anyone else? Want to share what came to mind when you thought of gratitude?
I would say healthy. I'm healthy with God, and to support my family, I gave me things. Some of them know I recently graduated from my BSN, and I had an opportunity in the States. They had accepted, and I will support my family. I gave me with this transition that I will be moving, and I won't be there 20 minutes away. I'm gonna be a flight away. So I'm grateful for that.
Well, excellent. And again, congratulations. That's a good accomplishment. Thank you so much.
I'm the type of person that I'm very grateful for everything that happened to me, bad or good. But something that I realized, I'm the only woman here, so it's really hard. I know she's but in this
In the class.
so it's very hard because I have to push myself a little bit more. So I'm grateful to be here and learn, and you give me, and like we say, I have the balls to be here. Yeah, because
People with your face.
yeah,
We all went.
yeah.
That's good. That's good. Trying to add various perspectives in it all, right? Now, before we decided to come down to this cave to continue on the class we're going to have this morning, and we're going to be discussing the idea of the fifth domain within H2F that's been added in Master Training, which is spiritual readiness. We figured there'd be no better, more beautiful place to do it while we're out here anyway. We had a little conversation, better go to a classroom or we're already out in nature where a lot of people like to connect to their spiritual core. Why not just have that conversation here? And while we were standing over there talking about that, right before we were talking about that, having other discussions as well. Right. So with regards to this course, so far we focused a lot on what type of domain in the holistic realm. It's been our primary focus. When we take a step back, what are those 5 domains of H2F? And spiritual. All right, physical, mental. Yeah, we hit spiritual. Got 2 more. It's all health.
Nutrition?
Nutrition, you got 1 more. You don't sleep on it. Sleep, exactly. Those 5 domains. And historically, the Master Trainer course focuses on, the physical and nutritional. That's where it's born out of. And we're seeing more as an organization and as leaders that the human beings that we have to serve, the human beings we have to take care of, there's a lot more that we can do for them. Right? We need to be able to understand and communicate with them how they can not only fuel and move their bodies, but how they're recovering their bodies. How we can get together in times where we are relaxed and at peace and not under stress and duress like we are right now. And then how we can do the same when we're in an operational environment, which something's on the same. Right? When you're 11 days from deploying from the first time, right? When you have to put your life on hold, everything else that you want to do, be away from family and friends and all these other obligations, and be able to connect to one another. We have to be able to develop that sense of purpose, that sense of who we are with each other. And we're all wearing the same uniform and going under the same challenges, the same things. That all falls under, that latter part falls under the spiritual domain. Now, how many of you feel that you regularly practice spirituality? Okay. Good amount of hands. And for most of you, is that spiritual practice in a religious capacity or a non-religious capacity? And I should say no judgment on any of them. Right? Non-religious? Non-religious? I know it's interesting here with Puerto Rico, right? It's different everywhere you go, where that's going to be. You're going to have some people that are very religious and not spiritual, and that's absolutely possible. You have some that feel they are neither. Some that get triggered by either one of those words. All right. Some that are spiritual with either their connection to their family, connection to nature. Sometimes it's more in different senses, right? I'm just going to leave on those pieces. But the spiritual core, spiritual readiness within what we're trying to do with the Army focuses primarily on the spiritual core and broken down into 4 P's. Being purpose, meaning that you find in things. Why are you doing the things that you do? Why do you want to be healthy? Why do you want to be in the Army? What does that mean to you? Why is all of that important to you? Purpose is a huge piece of that. We have people, our organization, regardless of what echelon you're at. All the way down to the team and squad level, platoon level, detachment level, company, all the people that are actually doing all the work. The staffers putting things together for us in the Army Reserve as well. Right, company, command, brigade, et cetera, et cetera. The people of our organization, and then even after you spend all of these years in service and you get out, the Army still wants to take care of you as a veteran. We're trying to do this from the time you're interested in joining until the rest of your life to take care of you. Because we are a very small group, very small organization and a family we're going to put together under that people. Anyone know what those other 2 P's are by chance? Besides purpose and people? Or have a guess? You can guess. You'll be fine. No wrong answers. Yeah, it doesn't start with a P, but good job. Commitment is very important. Perspective. Perspective is interesting because it's unique, right? Every single one of us is going to have a different perspective of even the words coming out of my mouth right now. But there's a lot of value in sharing perspective, aligning that perspective. The 3rd P is actually your path. And again, that can sometimes have a religious connotation, and that could be. You can combine religious and spirituality. But path, if we think of the journey that we're on, once you have helped figure out what your purpose is, you're gonna have to get there. Have you worked on any form of purpose even in this class yet? Have we asked you to do any type of homework on an end state? In what way? No, go ahead.
The homework, you guys are building it up, so that gives us the right path. And then we get to make sure we do our little left and rights or whatever, make our mistakes, so.
No, you're right. So the end state for this capstone, for this class, but in general, to give you an example, think about the SMART goal you're running. Right? Now that has a purpose to it. It may not be your individual meaningful purpose for you, why you want to be as healthy as possible, be as strong or as fast as possible, look as good as possible, whatever that is, be better for your family, right? But you have that overall instinct, your SMART goal. That's the purpose. The path you're developing, as you just learned yesterday's class, right, for periodization, would be your microcycle, your mesocycle, your macrocycle. How are you getting yourself and your soldiers there? And obviously the people and the individuals that we're focusing on in order to get that. The last P, the fourth P, are your practices. So when you think about developing that long path to get to that purpose, those small practices that you have to do again and again and again to refine and to improve yourself, those practices along that path are what help us meet our purpose. And it's very important to see that I'm using the physical domain for the MFT course, something that you're going through right now as an example. But that applies to practically everything. When we start talking about spiritual readiness, we start talking about holistic health and fitness in general, we can focus on a domain, but we can never separate them. No matter what you're doing in and out of uniform, you are practicing, or you are at least encompassing all of these domains. What we want to do as facilitators of both this course and as just leaders and human beings trying to help human beings is to help provide you information how to refine those practices so you can be efficient with it and get there without a lot of the hiccups that we normally have to hit along the way. But we can't separate any of it. When you're talking to your soldiers, you're talking to your leaders, and any of them are stating something potentially negative about the spiritual domain, or they feel that negative connotation might push away, very often that's the time where we need to see how can we help modify their perspective, right? Develop some form of a commitment to understanding what spiritual readiness is and why it is important. Connection to their family, connection to their community. It's all spiritual readiness. Any thoughts and questions on that so far? Things that have come to your mind?
I always like to say how it's always amazing how things has a purpose and are connected. Like, I believe in God, so I believe in how maybe we are here and how the universe works things through around it. I had a reservation for this course in October, and I thought about it. I guess I'm the only one from the 210 here,
yes.
And it was all a coincidence. I show up one day to Masan Monte's computer trying to peek out, and I see this Master Fitness H2F pilot program, and I'm like, oh, it should be cool that I could be there. Let me see the requirements. Oh, you need to be Master Resilience and have phase 1, and I'm like, oh, that's me. Like it was like perfectly tailored. And he just put in my name in there, how long it says, even though it says 166. And then the 210 fight all about it, not to come here, and then I decided not to even show up. And then I just called myself and said I'm very disappointed that I'm not gonna be able to go. I might not even go in October because all the funds with the change of fiscal year and all that stuff. And then just one call is like, hey, I got you. You know what I mean? And then I'm here, and then I know this experience wouldn't be anything at all. Like if I would have gone to New Jersey or to for Jackson or whatever that class was, it would not be the same. It would not be the same. This is the first class here. I'm here with you guys, with my people, and then I get to know each other, and then even though I can identify each other, and in case I want to do some event or something, I know the faces. You know, sometimes you go to a course
You don't know anybody.
and then you don't know anybody, and then you're there, and you don't know who the other master fitness are and all that stuff. So it's I start thinking about all this, you know, gels together, and then my mind just keeps going, and I'm grateful for that, because I know from here a lot of opportunities are gonna come after this. So
Oh, yes. Excellent, thank you so much. Right, now, let me ask you this.
I have something I want to add actually too, in response to your question. When you were speaking, I was reflecting on how it ties to the story of the day that Coach Terrell shared, and how you have these 4 P's, and the last one is the practices that we have. And it doesn't have to be like going to church on Sunday or praying before you go to bed. Like what he shared about, okay, my practice is working with my anger and being a better father for my daughter. And trying all these different tools and keep persevering until I find something that works for me, so that I can be more of the man that I want to be. And you know, I resonate with that, and I have different practices and different types of work that I'm doing with myself too. So I thought that tied really nicely.
Excellent, thank you. And we all have some of that, right? We all have what we're trying to work on. And right now, it's me trying to get stable. There we go. Right? We all have our small parts and sometimes large parts of ourselves. Some fights that may take years, and very often we don't recognize them until maybe something is too late. But and as it was brought up, this is the beginning of a lot of things. Right? Not only within our command, with what we're doing here with these MTTs, trying to prepare you to prepare people, but within the Army itself with H2F overall. So I should state that in the huge spectrum, HQDA, big army of H2F, you have all of these professionals that are meant to try and help soldiers. And what they typically do with H2F is they do the 4+1, which means you have medical professionals for 4, and then you have your unit chaplains. And I want to make this distinction because from my experiences working within First Mission Support Command, the chaplains here are incredible. And every single time I go out and I communicate with other Compo 1, Compo 2, Compo 3 groups, what I consistently see are chaplains go underutilized. And I'll state right up front that I feel I'm a very spiritual person, but I am not a religious person. I never have been. That's just me being vulnerable and honest with that. I find my spirituality in trying to bring opportunities to others and help others. If I have knowledge or experience or a network that can get someone where they want to be at a time, and I don't, then that goes against my spiritual practices. I'm trying to add this connection and help people be better. So what I see every single group of chaplains I talk to, they're only used by the commander when something goes wrong. An emergency happens, very end of it. After the soldier has already undergone such a significant, or their family member has gone such a significant event, then you bring the chaplain. And we don't typically try and get ahead of the issues. We don't use the resources that they have, the experiences and knowledge that they have to try and come in and say, can you just talk to our soldiers before they deploy and they're gone for their families about some of the things that they can do to connect to one another over there? How are we getting those families together so that they have people they can talk to when their service member isn't around? Right? Something that where they can they can connect and develop their own type of community. Exactly. So one of the challenges I want to give you with regards to spiritual domain is to try and incorporate, proactively use your chaplains much more.
I want to ask because everybody here is here. Basil, you are 8 yards on ball. So, and in the first time I've seen, in the first floor, so when you turn to the left and you get into where is the chaplain command. Also, I always, me and my platoon sergeant, when I was in the unit, we advise our soldier that they don't need to notify you as a leader. They just can go through it. Yes. They don't need to be in orders. They come in civilian, and trust me, when they arrive there, they want to give him any services. And sometimes they're scared because many soldiers thinking, all right, this thing is going to regular. or this is gonna notify the command. No, it's absolutely private. They don't even have they don't even need to put the name who visit them. They just put a number, 1 or 2 or whatever. Also theirs, and they don't need to do an appointment. There's a psychologist there that they work as a private, and they just can't go through. And also, sometimes we're thinking, all right, there's only the deer that is my wife or my husband, the only one that can do a partner therapy. No, if you have a boyfriend, you have a girlfriend, you can go through there, and they're gonna give you the services. So, and then it's not something that's gonna fill an MBA or whatever. The compliance is not gonna know anything. Your boss is not gonna do anything. But it's very important that you disseminate that to the lower district, because I would say that in my experience, maybe the 80% of them, they don't know it, and then they know it, they think that they need to go to the channel. It's alright, that's all.
No, thank you. I agree. A lot of people don't go to chaplains because they either have the fear of reprisal from their command, or they feel embarrassed potentially to be a prior issue, or they feel the chaplain can't connect with them because they may not share that form of religion. But chaplains themselves, they have their own denominations, but that's not their role. Is to teach anything within their denomination. There's so many funds, so many resources that they have for you that really go underutilized. And I've been trying to incorporate the chaplains a lot more. In fact, what may be an interesting thing for you to know is the first H2FI, Holistic Health and Fitness Integrated course, is taking place in Fort Jackson next week. More than half of the people attending that course are your 65 ranks from your religious affairs specialist or your mission support command, because we're consistently trying to incorporate them to be a better resource for you and for your service.
Also, for every command that you go, there's funding there's a program that is handled by the chaplain, which is the strong bonds. And you can go every year, one time. They have 3 different chapters, one for 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days. You just need to put it on the list. They're gonna see you. They're gonna put you in order if you are live in distance learning and distance outside the community and distance. They're gonna put you in DBS. So there is another tools that you can disseminate to your shoulder. There, yes, there's funding for everybody. The expectation is at least every soldier go at least 1 time a year, every single year. Most of the time, what the soldiers are doing is when they're gonna to deploy, then they do the arrangement to go. But just use it.
Does anyone know what strong bonds is actually called now? It changed maybe a year and a half ago. It's called BSRT. It's called Building Strong and Ready Teams. That's the new component that it's under within the spiritual domain. Now, I'm not going to spend all this time talking about chapel, but I do want to talk about them being a really good resource for you when it comes to it. And again, it's because we can't separate any of these domains. We can't really do one without the other. Right? So say you wanted to be your strongest self. You just wanted to lift all the weight all the time. It doesn't matter what it is. You want to be able to pick it up and put it down. You want to walk into the gym where someone's at their max set and you don't even have them change it. Right? You've all seen the regular reels on your For You on Instagram or TikTok, and you start using that for your warm-up. Right? So you establish some dominance in the gym. How do you even get there without having that sense of purpose where you want to go? How do you get there without the consistent and disciplined practice it takes in order to improve, in order to get through all of those hard times, especially the initial aspect of the training? And then what do you do when things aren't going right? If you haven't established that strong sense of that spiritual core and that sense of self. When we're talking to our soldiers and our commanders, defining for you, defining for them and for your organization what your traditions and what your sense of spiritual core, spiritual readiness are, is one of the first steps. I firmly believe, and again, as a non-religious person, I'm a little bit biased in H2F. That's not evidently clear. But I think out of all the 5 domains, the spiritual domain is the most important. Because I can't separate any of them, but all of them absolutely depend on that singular spiritual core. No matter what you're going to do, everything comes directly back to that. But you're 5-6 days from graduating, right? And returning to your units as master fitness trainers, you're gonna be expected to be able to do some of these things. What are some issues you anticipate in trying to implement conversations or activities involving spiritual readiness? Straight off the bat. Or, you wanna say why?
Because, like, I get the whole, cause I just changed unit from a combat unit to a construction unit. So the first big chunk that we had, like, it was like, sir, I don't care, we need to do it. Like, we do a move at 4, we do it on Sunday. We have a 6, we do it Saturday and Sunday. Like, but we don't have time. You don't do a project, I'm like, sir, you don't do a project without the equipment or the stuff. So you're gonna have all these people just laying around doing nothing all morning. So we don't need them to lay around all morning. We'll do PT. We'll let them shower, we'll let them have breakfast. We'll continue with them. So for us to bring the chaplain, because the chaplain is like a friend of mine, he's like, hey, I called the command, he's like, you're too busy for a visit. Like, Father Vera, he's like the big dog. He comes over, he's like, you need to make time for me. It's just, I need an hour block. What are we gonna do? That's that. So then I get a backlash, like, you just got here, you run things differently from the other unit. And at the end of the day, I really don't care, because I am doing my job, so.
Hey, it's a tough battle. It can be a tough battle changing climate and changing culture. Very much so, and each of you are gonna be a part of that. Not only here, but any other unit you may end up going to. If you're camera. So you're right, trying to put the time in the schedule. Right, and pulling that back, we've talked about how in shape can you get your soldiers if you see them once a month? It's not gonna make that big of a difference, right? So what can you use that time for when you're doing physical training as a group, as a squad, as a platoon, etc.?
You can start teaching them the right way, or give them some keys. I've seen soldiers that we actually lit up that spark on that 2 days of PT. So I get them, I don't know who was to say that, leaders, but for me, I don't care. I'll be that leader that pushes through PT. Like, I came back and I teach my soldiers, came back from SLC, and I was like, yeah, I got 565 on my ACFT. I put my PT card on my front of my door. And then soldiers be like, oh, you're bragging. No, I'm not bragging. Me as your leader, I want you to get there or pass me. I don't want you to come here and just do it. And if I can do it, and I'm technically older than most of my platoon, and I'd be like, why are you not here? What is your excuse? Oh, sorry, but you work every day, blah, blah, yeah, but I either do it before my work or after my work. And I don't even train some of the work, because some of my days are 14, 10, 12 hours a day. So sometimes I don't get time to work out. Sometimes I go down on the weekends and help my mom and my family down here at Carolina when I live in Ponce. So you are a student, you can all build a schedule. And like I said, to excel at the ACFT, you don't have to train 5 days a week. If you put in a little bit of work 3 days a week, you can be around those 500. And then when you feel better, then you try to work out a little bit more so you can get that 600. But at least on me as a platoon sergeant, I don't allow my soldiers to be like, hey, what's the minimum? Don't ask me after the minimum, because I'm not going to give you that answer, you know? So you can change the culture and be that one person. And I noticed this, and I keep talking about him because he did. Last time Montes came into our unit, and he was like, I don't care if I'm the only one that he's going to go there and give it her all. And then me, I'm the type of guy that when I see somebody else, that sparks me. Because if everybody's doing the bare minimum, I'm not the type of guy who will do the bare minimum, but sometimes I'll hang around with that group, and how should I say, if you hang around the barbershop, you get a haircut at some point, you know, so I'm that type of person. I'll be around there, and then sometimes I'll get just slack and be there, and be like, oh, we're not doing PT in this unit, then until he came in, he was like, no, we're gonna do PT. No, and then we're AGRs, we're gonna do PT as a full-timers, at least 3 times a day, and I'm like, damn, this guy. But then I woke up one day, and then I woke up the next day, and then I'm like, you know, it feels good, and then you start improving, and then you go to battalion to do PT with the other AGRs, and you see that you're like number 3 of the whole AGRs, and you're like, damn, that's feel good, and that's what actually gets you to do it. And then I do it with my soldiers. They go to BLC, and then they're doing good over there. They come back with their experience, and now you have 5 soldiers actually trying to get it. So
exactly. So you're bringing in a see your head. You have an individual, yourself or Montez, and next time you talk to him, ask him why we used to call them the bees. wild man, actually. That's why we used to call him wild man out in the forest. But anyways, you have an individual, just one, an N of one, coming to an organization and saying, this is important, and we're gonna do this, and just establishing it. And seeing how do you develop that connection with other people, right? Helping them establish their own purpose, because sometimes people, we make up a lot of stories in our own head as of why. Often excuses, I don't have time, I don't have this, I can't do this, I don't have the resources, this hurts, if I do this, then this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And regardless of all the things that we see that prove that to be incorrect, it's very hard to get out of that space. But one of the things that help us when we are stuck in our own is that external, that person that cares. And that's one of the roles that we need to be able to have as leaders, let alone as MFTs. Right? And just MFT is just another a leader with more tools has been educated into how can I take this person and help them? How do I connect with this person to help them establish their own purpose and then start integrating those regular practices to get them on the path. Right? Perfect.
But you were asking one of the problems that you can face when you came back to your organization and you want to make changes.
Yes.
Because this is the things that we want to establish in the army. And sometimes we are thinking about the big picture, how I'm going to change the entire unit. Hey, it's going to be walls, there's going to be people there for 20, 30 years. Hey, it's a new system, it's happening through the entire area. But something that helped me, I always encourage everybody to do it by your people that you are in charge. If you are in charge of 4 soldiers, start doing like with these 4 soldiers. That is contagious. And when I try to make changes in the unit, yeah, I have walls, I have people that, what are you doing? So what I've done is I just talk to my platoon sergeant, we work together, we might spot leader, and we were doing like as a platoon level. Our short story, a few months after, when we were established, first platoon were established the exercise or the event or outside or doing anything, all the entire company come to it. Everybody gonna start, hi, we wanted to, I'm a trainer with them, we wanna do exercise with them, and you see that changes, we were 90, 95, 100. So start doing it with your small group, if you are ADR with your ADR team staff, they're gonna see it because the army is small and when something is working out, you're gonna improve the morale and everybody wants to be in that positive.
Yes. And of course, there's different ways they're gonna work in different organizations. Some people are gonna feel like you're never gonna reach. And it's not the idea to get everyone. The idea is at least to try. One of the things that I've established in my own leadership philosophy a long time ago is it's not my job to change people, anyone. Doesn't matter what role or position I'm in, what rank I have, my job is never to change that person because I'm not even sure I feel that is possible. But I can try and provide the perspective, and my own experience is enough to allow them to see if that is something that they also agree with, that they can coincide with, and they want to potentially join that path, and whatever that means for them. Yes.
Everybody is talking about teaching others, but like in the story that he tells, you have to be a role model. So I think, well, I don't think, I live by or I practice that I cannot tell you to do something if I don't do it first. So who I am to tell you, hey, give me 100 push-ups and I don't do even 30. So that's, I don't know, you don't have the authority to say that because, well, that's my opinion.
Right. You lead by example.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what I do when I go to places like that, because I was working in human resources office, so you know, like there's computer every 12, 10 hours a day, so they don't do a lot of PT. I like to do PT, so I put an alarm every 1 hour. And the alarm every 1 hour, you know, everyone here in the office. So I do 20 push-ups every 1 hour, 20 air squats, and 30 seconds plank every 1 hour during all the day. So they start coming to me like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm just, I don't know, warming up every 1 hour and doing, and by the time of maybe 3 or 4 months, when the alarm sound, everybody in the office, you know, like do the same. They start doing it with me. So I didn't tell them to do it. They just see me every day for 3 months doing it, and they say like, well, I'm going to do it too. And also, I put a paper in my wall, and it says, if you want my help, you need to do at least 1 push-up for every question or help that you need. I know that's not, you know,
Maybe that's why people stop asking me questions.
no. That's not what my point.
No,
but
I get you.
I just trying to be, you know, do something different so they can, I don't know, maybe enjoy that. So some people come and they read that and they, really, I had to do that? And I say, well, you don't have to, but I would like to. And they do it, and then the conversation mayor, you know, like, have a reunion with me and say, oh, I'm going to be fired. But no, he actually said that, you know, I'm doing a good job because he's seen a different atmosphere in the office by just doing that.
Awesome. Thank you. And it's excellent. A little establishing some Pavlovian responses there with the alarm, but I love it. I love it. So, again, pulling all this together, we see from these individual stories and perspectives is so powerful. Changing yourself and understanding it, you know, starting with you, starting with one person in your office or a small group in your office to be able to move around. Sometimes just getting out there and finding that resource that can talk to the leader that is sometimes getting in the way to get things moving, right? With spiritual readiness overall, I said before, it doesn't have to be disconnected. On our individual resources that we have on both our teams and our Google Drive, just to share a different example, we have a PowerPoint that has over 76 practical examples of what's titled Spiritual Readiness. And what those are about 15 to 20 minute physical readiness training exercises or sessions that have forms of spirituality built in. And it doesn't have to be led by your chaplain. It can be led by anyone. Ideally, every squad leader needs to understand enough about spiritual readiness to be able to help the human beings that they're leading. At the end of the day, we can't outsource necessarily that responsibility. We need to help every leader know what they need to do. But they'll have sessions similar to going and doing certain sets of something and then maybe coming together as a group like we are now and just sitting down and having a conversation, right? Humanizing it, not just sweating the sweat and making something hard to make something hard. Because we already have a difficult occupation. We don't need to make it any more challenging. We need to be ready for those challenges, physically and mentally. As they don't necessarily have to be separated. When you're communicating with your commander, you're communicating with your leadership, your staff to get this on the training schedule. It's not about doing PT for the ACFT. That's the exact opposite of what we want anyone to do. We want any of your PT sessions to be based on the ACFT. It's not about doing PT for height and weight or any of the biannual or annual requirements you have. That's really time for your leaders trained by you and educated by you or with you to be there for them to see how well your soldiers are doing on the time that they are actually going to improve themselves in between the rest of the month. You have that small hour period where you see how well can they move, what's going on in their life, starting to have a conversation with them and developing that bond and that commitment through that session where you can let them know you are there for them. That base leadership put into that hour to hit all of those demands. Right? How did you sleep last night? How are you eating? Are you well? Do you feel you have a person or an organization, a community, even outside of us, that you can go to enjoy things, or if you feel something's going wrong that you can communicate with? That sense of connectivity, or seeing if they're working on anything in their life, do they even have a purpose or a goal, physical or not? Delving into that spiritual core in the middle of that session, or during normal verbal, just sitting down and talking to people, right? Verbal counseling is of the utmost importance. And that's really the message we need to give to our leaders. everything we're teaching, everything these phenomenal facilitators from Fourth Station coming down here to teach you, aren't something that has to be added as an addition to an addition as to addition to addition on the training set. The normal things that you're doing, we can get together and just serve our human beings better, given the experiences and the information. So what I want to challenge you with is, we started this with you thinking about gratitude or something you were grateful for in this beautiful space. Ending this, and I'm not going to ask you to share it at this point, but I want you to either hang on to that gratitude or think in the future from the conversations that we've had, the things that we've taught you, the things that we are yet to teach you. How are you going to engage in that conversation with your soldiers and your leaders? What steps of leading the way and doing what you need to do are you going to take? Not what can you, what are you going to do? And what steps will you take in the future? Think about it. Take 5 deep breaths as you have this conversation with yourself. At the end of that 5th breath, stand up, embrace gratitude one more time, and then we'll head out of the cave.